I want to put out an insane idea for the Las Vegas Raiders. When you look at the Raiders, you look at what are their needs. Need wide receiver, need more speed. Who are they actually going to get in the draft that's going to give them that? Or even free agency. People are talking like getting these old players. Is that really the solution? Has that ever worked? Look what happened last night to the Patriots. They got run over by Derrick Henry. I'm saying the Raiders should forget about looking for wide receivers. They've been down that road. Fuck AB. Derrick Henry, another Alabama running back. Pair him up with Josh Jacobs. I know what you're thinking. There's not enough touches. I say run it like the 72 Dolphins. Defense and running. Defense, ball control, and just wear teams down. And you can use Jacobs in many different ways. You can line him up as a wide receiver. He would be very dangerous with those screen passes, that everyone hates. You put the ball in his hands, and he could take off. And he seems to be a team player. He wants touches, but I'm telling you, this Henry guy is really good, and the Raiders got crushed by him. The Patriots got crushed by him. I'm saying, pay the man. Pay the man, bring him in, and make the Raiders a running powerhouse. It sounds insane, but so wasn't the Antonio Brown saga. Remember that? Everyone thinks the Raiders have the best offensive line in the world to pass block, and I don't think they do. You can sit there and blame Derek Carr for everything in the world, but you give Derek Carr all day long, which he never does have, and he had no one to throw to, he's going to pick a defense apart. He did it in college. He can do it in the pros. He has done it in the pros if he's given enough time. But the Raiders' offensive line, they have flaws all year long. Right tackle was a problem. And left tackle even could be a problem at times when you think about the sort of pass rushes they have to go up against all the time. Ingram, Bosa, Chubb, Von Miller. That's 4 games right there. And one of the ways to beat these type of teams is to run the ball. I'm telling you, this is an Al Davis type move, and I think it needs to be made. Derrick Henry in silver and black to go to Las Vegas. This would be the type of player you bring in to make a splash in Las Vegas, along with Josh Jacobs. Because you're going to spell these guys. I'm talking about running a lot. I'm talking about crushing the other team. You line up against the other team, and you just sit there, and you tell them, physically, you just try and stop us. The Raiders' offensive line is quite suited to run the ball. You look at any part, the weakness on the right side, and there is a weakness with even Brown. Brown is a huge guy, and he's been injured before, but he was injured a lot this year. I don't think you can totally rely on him to be this great pass blocking right tackle. He could go down again. On the left side, Miller is very good in space. When he gets out in space, he can truck guys. And I'm telling you, Derrick Henry, the Alabama duo. Now, it sort of sounds like back when the Raiders had Bo Jackson and Marcus Allen. Here's where I draw the difference. Back then, I hated that because Bo Jackson came in about week 10 out of nowhere, and every time he came in the game, he knew he was getting the ball. I'm saying to utilize the most out of this is to use both of them at the same time. You don't just take Jacobs off the field. I think Jacobs is more an explosive receiver than the Derrick Henry probably is, or potentially, or they could be interchangeable that way. I may imagine, but I've seen Jacobs more than Henry this year, and it is untapped what he can do in the passing game. And I'm telling you, he can be utilized that way. But many times this year, Jacobs was taken off the field for one reason or another. I think he was injured almost the entire year. Or he did not have the stamina, or whatever you want to call it. Everyone loves him. I love him. I mean, he, even injured, he was so... the things he would do were just incredible. I mean, compared to other Raider running backs, I mean, just Latavius Murray, I mean, just getting stuffed behind the line. And other running backs, and let's face it, Washington and Rashad are not Derrick Henry. I'm sorry, but I'm channeling the 72 Dolphins, where they have Zonker and what's his name? I can't remember their names. But they would run the ball a ton. And that's what teams did back then. You're still going to throw the ball, but you're going to make them defend the run first. And you can see what can happen. The Patriot game last night, he set a record for running all over the Patriots' elite defense. And it kills two birds in one stone. You take another playoff team's best player away from them. Pay him. Trust me. This is a crazy Al Davis type of idea, but I do not see them just selecting one of these stupid wide receivers in the first round, and all of a sudden he becomes Tim Brown. Tim Brown didn't become Tim Brown overnight. Jerry Rice became Jerry Rice immediately, but Jerry Rice was different. Jerry Rice was much better than Tim Brown. Tim Brown took, I think it was like 5 years before he became who he was, 5 or 6 years. And he got injured right away. It wasn't until after the Raiders matched the Denver Broncos offer to Tim Brown. He was going to the Denver Broncos. He never played well in cold weather, by the way. But he was going to the Denver Broncos. That was a scary thought. With Elway throwing to him, having a receiver like him. He never really had a receiver that could just catch the ball all the time. Although at that point, he had not caught, 100 passes a year. But still, that was going to be huge back then. But they don't grow on trees. They just don't come off. And how many times after Tim Brown has he been replaced? He's never been replaced. And all the receivers they bring in, they're oftentimes head cases. This is a passing league now, even though I'm talking running. It's a passing league. Raiders get Amari Cooper. He is supposed to be the best ever. He is, he runs these perfect routes, and he's going to be the next Jerry Rice. He's a head case. You can see by looking at his eyes. There's something going on. And the Raiders have to get rid of him. They could get him back. He's a free agent, by the way. And they have the money. They have tons of money. not even including, you know, moving the books a bit, where they're going to get rid of some players, presumably. But you're going to go and draft one of these wide receivers, because I don't see anyone in free agency that's going to give you anything close to a number one wide receiver. And what is he going to be? Haywood Bay? Is he going to be who? Who are these wide receivers? I don't even follow college football on purpose, because it is night and day comparing college to the pros. And these receivers, they get drafted in the first round, and how many really turn into elite stars? I'm thinking no, they don't. And I think it's foolhardy to think that somehow you're just gonna plug and play. I want proven talent. I might bring in someone, an older wide receiver that knows how to catch. How about Larry Fitzgerald? Bring him in. Not saying he'll play that much, but he might be retiring. Who knows? But of all the receivers out there, Green, injuries, who are they actually gonna select? I would prefer someone who's experienced, who's not named Williams, because he can't catch. Let's face it. But really, the Raiders last year, the only reason they won any games is because of Josh Jacobs and how they ran the ball. See what happens when he doesn't play. If he had been playing in the Denver Bronco game, the Raiders win that game. So I'm doubling down on Alabama, and I want 2 Alabama running backs. Say goodbye to Washington Rashad. Don't need him. A lot of touches. And I'm talking about running the ball and wearing the defense out. I'm talking about non-stop running. And I don't even want to see the punter on 4th down in less than 3. I really don't. What's the point? What is really the point? Because the other thing you're going to do, at least my plan, my Al Davis-like plan, is you get Derrick Henry, and then you spend the rest of your money and your draft on defense. And you better hit. You better hit. The Raiders have holes in safety. They have an unknown in Abrams. He's an unknown. We love how he hits. But if you hit and you can't even take your own hits, an unknown, you got off-injured Joseph, free agent. So they don't. Safety is a problem right now. How about cornerback? Mullins, he was coming on a bit, but he's going to need help. Where does he need help? Not just at cornerback. Needs help on the defensive line. They need more push up the middle. Can they get that in free agency? It would be nice to get Jones away of Kansas City, but I doubt that's going to happen. Who else are they going to get? Are they going to find someone in the draft? They're no longer selecting way high up. They're in the middle. They do have 2 number 1 picks. They should spend it on defense. They should build a defense. Just like the 49ers built. Just like some other teams built. Like the Raiders in the past have built. If you go back to the early 80s, the way the Raiders started accumulating these defensive linemen, like Howie Long, Bill Purcell, Greg Townsend, that's what set up their Super Bowl. That's what set up some of their other playoff runs until it fizzled out. You got to get a strong defensive line, control the other side of the ball, and you need strong running. And I'm telling you, the solution is to run the ball. It is not to be pass happy. And Derek Carr can manage the game. This is a sort of a crazy idea because you think, oh, he got Josh Jacobs. But Josh Jacobs could not last a whole year. I'd rather like to see them even things up a bit. But like I said, he can be used in more ways than one, Jacobs. And Gruden's even said that he's untapped potential pass catching. There's so many ways he can be used. I wouldn't stop using them. I would use them both at once. Both at once. And I just want old-fashioned football because, you know something? The Raiders aren't finding any wide receivers anytime soon. They're either going to have to settle for some old wide receiver that can catch the ball, but he doesn't have the speed anymore to make a difference, or they're going to settle for one of these young wide receivers, highly touted, and they come in and they can't catch the ball, or they can't do Gruden's offense or something. There's going to be some problem. I mean, if they would have hit, that would be great. It would be great just to come in, get someone to come in to be the next Tim Brown. That would be great. Is it going to happen? Amari Cooper was a sure thing. Look what happened to him. He blamed the Raiders for his lack of real success. Because it's really easy nowadays to get 1,000 yards passing. There's 16 games, and if you're the featured pass catcher, yeah, you're going to get it. Right now, the Raiders, 2 years in a row, have had great production out of the tight end because that's the exploitation. They're exploiting the middle of the defense, having tight ends on linebackers and stuff, and even safeties. They have, and it's been 2 years in a row doing the same thing. And notice in New Orleans, the same thing didn't happen because New Orleans has wide receivers. They have better weapons on the outside. And it's all about that. I would not think too highly of Waller. Waller is taking advantage of the fact the Raiders have awful wide receivers. But on the outside. Renfro's a keeper. He just needs to add more weight. You got to go work out with what's his name from the Patriots, Edelman. He needs to get big like him, and a lot more muscle mass on his frame, so he can survive. Other than that, the rest of them are pretty much garbage. They're not number one wide receivers. They're not number two wide receivers. It's a problem. And I say the solution is Derrick Henry. It's an Al Davis type move, and I can think of other moves he did when he had Marcus Allen. He didn't select Marcus Allen. Al Davis was involved in court dealings with the NFL, I believe. And someone else selected Marcus Allen for him. And he brought in Roger Craig. Obviously, he brought in Bo Jackson. Dickerson. He brought in everyone he possibly could. But I'm telling you, they utilized him wrong. They utilized these guys wrong or whatever. But I would not go into the season with just Josh Jacobs. I know you can say, oh, find someone in the draft. Are you going to find someone as good as Derrick Henry in the draft? I don't think this guy is the same thing as what's his name? Le'Veon Bell. It's a different situation. He hasn't sat out the whole year. Now, he might object to being on the Raiders with another featured back. Unless it was explained to him that's what they're going to do. I'm telling you, it's the way to win. John Gruden does have that in his system. That, old school football, run the ball down their throat. What do you got to lose? It's only Las Vegas. Roll the dice.